So welcome to today's MTD podcast. We're here at Mazak at their European headquarters in Worcester. I'm Paul Jones, the Managing Director and Founder of MTDCNC. And for this podcast, I'm joined by two gentlemen, Joe Reynolds from MTDCNC and also Ian White, who's the General Sales Manager from Mazak for the laser products, which is obviously the focus of this particular podcast. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show. We'll probably start with yourself, Ian. It's always good to get a bit of a background and a history as to our participants. So maybe could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in terms of your product knowledge and so forth?
Yeah, okay, good morning. Yes, so as you said, my name is Ian White. I'm General Manager of the laser division here at Mazak UK, covering the UK and Ireland. And I've been at Mazak for just under 5 years now. But before that, long experience in laser machines and sheet metal for about 20 years now, something like that.
Okay, so lots of experience. Joe, you've been involved with Mazak for some time as well, haven't you? Not just on the metal cutting side. You've obviously been quite involved with Ian recently on some of the new technologies. It's a big market for them.
Yeah, one thing I wasn't aware of is how old the technology is at Mazak laser. Maybe a lot of people don't realise how long they have been making laser machines. You obviously know a lot more about this, Ian. But when I first saw a Mazak laser, I don't know, 10 years ago, but it goes back a lot further than that.
Yeah, correct. Mazak have been making machines from the very start of production laser machines back in the early 80s, and since then, there's a lot of innovations Mazak have been responsible for. Things like nozzle changes, load and load of sheet automation, and the torch changes. So some. And
when you say you've been responsible, have you been the first to pioneer those areas?
Yes, yeah, Mazak were the first to pioneer those areas. From almost the very start.
Wow, and how much has changed in that time? I know you've only been here yourself for about 5 years, but you've got more experience, obviously, within industry beyond that. How much has things changed in laser cutting over the past couple of decades?
Oh, it's changed and still is at a very high pace. Certainly, when lasers first came out, there was different types of resonator used. And even in recent times, the last 5 to 10 years, there's been large changes from CO2 machines to fiber, and then more recently DDL. So a big choice of beam sources you can get nowadays.
And then could we quickly touch on those three technologies and maybe some of the differences? I know we hear it a lot and you talk about it every day, but for those that are listening, what are the differences between those three that you mentioned?
Well, for most people, when you're talking about laser cutting, you're probably talking about a CO2 machine, and that's still the most prevalent, most common machine you see out there in the market. But fiber laser cutting has brought big improvements. It's a solid-state beam source with a fiber delivery system, so that means there's a lot less power used at the beam source. It also means it can cut a lot quicker. But because it's got a fiber delivery system on it, there's a lot less maintenance as well. So it gives a lot big price savings for the end user and maintenance savings.
And then where does the DDL fit in then?
DDL's a newer development. It's got a slightly different wavelength to fiber and CO2, and it gives you, again, a power saving and a cut quality improvement over the other methods.
So if you had to pick three applications ideally suited to each of those technologies, what would they be?
Well, as I said, CO2 traditionally it's very good at cutting thicker materials at very good high quality. Fiber, of course, is pretty much taken over in the market now, and that's renowned for speed mainly, and DDL is quality cutting.
Okay.
So in terms of applications, I'm presuming you wouldn't use a DDL for some basic laser work. That's for more premium products.
Of course you could, but certainly the advantage and the reason you would choose DDL over the other resonator sources is quality.
And I counted 13 models in the range. Would that be about right, or have I missed any, or added a few in?
That's an unlucky number, so I'll change that. But you could be right. Yeah, there's a large range of resonator sources, as I said, different bed sizes, different ways of moving the head, from flying optics to hybrid. But we also do a large range of tube machines and 3D as well.
Yeah, that often gets forgotten, doesn't it? The 3D, but it's important, the tube cutting and what have you.
No, definitely, it's a large market, for bevel cutting or a different format of like automotive parts, etc. Our 3D range is very versatile as well. You can process 2D flat sheet on it and 3D parts as well. You can also add a chuck system to it, so for tube processing as well. So for one of the most versatile lasers on the market, really.
What you talking combination machine here, are we?
It is a combination machine. I suppose you could call it that, yes. But certainly for laser cutting, there's no punching capabilities on it. Let's make that clear. But from 2D sheet to 3D parts, and you can also put tube on there as well.
And in terms of the market cap or the market size in the UK, how many machines do you think are sold? Not necessarily Mazak, but as a whole, how many machines?
It's quite a significant market. It's difficult to put an exact figure on that. There's no one particularly collating it, but it'll be about 150 plus per year flatbeds within the UK.
And from your market share perspective, is that growing? If you take that 150, are you really making progress with that product? I know it's been around a long time, but have you got a big market share?
Oh, definitely, yes. As we said, Mazak have been making lasers since the early 80s, but certainly in the last 5 to 10 years, Mazak have put a lot of investments, not only into the machines themselves, but into the sales and support staff in each individual country, and certainly in the UK, that has resulted in a big market share growth.
Must help having this building, this facility.
Oh, certainly, it's an excellent facility. So, we've got several showrooms here, a large amount of staff for support. So, it's definitely a useful facility.
And coming more from a metal cutting background myself, when you're selling one of those machines, there's often customers come in here wanting demonstrations. They bring parts in, they ask you for chip-to-chip, cycle times of those components, different ways and methods of making them. Is that a very similar process on your side? Is there a lot of activity here at Worcester with people experimenting and trying to get the best out of what you do?
Yes, and we've certainly used the facilities we've got here to the max. Different to quite a lot of sheet metal facilities. We have CMM equipment, measurement equipment here as well. So for companies that want to work very accurately, we can prove what the machine can do actually on site here in Worcester.
Is there much crossover? So a gentleman or a lady might come and look at a vertical machining sensor, and maybe they know you do lasers, maybe they don't. But what I'm trying to say is, have you got many customers that use both? Metal removal and laser.
More than I would expect, actually. There's a lot of OEM manufacturing companies that, of course, want to make the whole component, and there's the sheet metal parts on it. There's solid machined parts, and of course, they prefer to go to one supplier.
Because traditionally, when you go round machine shops, you do tend to find you go in a company and they have a discipline that they specialise at, and that might be turning, it might be grinding. It might be fabrication. It is becoming more common where they are trying to combine those disciplines into not just into their business, but maybe by some of the technology that they can purchase as well that is very adaptable. Yeah. So I suppose the fact you can satisfy all areas must be a massive advantage to you.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It's something that's it's useful for us, and it's certainly useful for the end user. And the other factor here is companies turn up and they're not really aware of what lasers can do. As lasers have got more higher power, for example, we have the 10 kilowatt on site here now, that can cut 35 millimeter material. So companies are maybe using machining or some sort of EDM to create that shape, and they see the versatility and power and quality the laser can do, and that's a really commercially viable option to manufacture those parts.
Yeah, and if you look at the technology you offer here at Mazak, obviously DDR, it's been around, but you know better than me, 3-4 years, but I know you've got the new control as well now.
Yeah, there's increasing crossover from the machine tool technology onto the sheet metal side, and the control panel uses very similar, base technology to the machining side. So Mazak have got the economies of scale, and it's a really powerful control system that's used on the latest generation machines. And
does that help with the speed? Because one of the things looking at the smooth control on other machines within the range, they're kind of boasting, massive savings in or improvements in productivity. Some of these laser machines that we see around exhibitions, they are moving incredibly fast. To think that you can move quicker than that is quite mind-blowing. But does your control help with that? Are you right up there? Are you one of the fastest when it comes to the movement and the agility of the machine?
Oh, yes. Cutting. Yeah, definitely. Of course, at a show, a laser will always draw a crowd because of the sparks and the speed of which it's cutting the metal. But yeah, comparing the new Preview G panel with the previous generation, exactly the same resonator, the machine can process parts 15% faster than the previous, and that's slightly faster acceleration within the machine, but it's mainly down to the processing power of the panel.
I think what's really interesting for me, and one of the kind of probably the last things I'd like to try and explore, is you mentioned about, and we're seeing this a lot when engineers are visiting exhibitions, they're going online, and they're seeing different ways of doing things, which is like you just mentioned. They may have cut something using a wire cut machine, and now they can do it on your machine. Is there many other examples that you could give us where these changes are happening?
It wouldn't necessarily be just flat material for that. As I said, we do a range of tube machines as well. So we do get a lot of people that are machining, etc. tubes that when they see what our fabricator tube laser can do, then that's another good application of how lasers can help.
And I suppose the automation is a big plus as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. With Industry 4.0 automation and measurement of what the machine can do, then yes, a large percentage of what we sell has got automation. Part picking is another new area, I suppose, for lasers. So we have 3 different part picking options.
And would that be like suction and what can you elaborate?
Yeah, suctional robots. Yeah, one of the largest challenges in this industry is that the laser can do a large amount of parts on one sheet, but of course there's a manual element to actually remove those parts before the next sheet goes into cut. So part pickers will automatically separate the parts from the scrap metal, increasing the uptime of the machine.
And just the final one for me is how are you doing? Is sales good? Inquiry levels at a high level?
It's very busy. Yes, no, it's we've experienced a record year last year, and I don't foresee that carrying on moving forwards.
Good stuff. I think it's been a fascinating insight into the world of laser and sparks. Thank you very much for your time, Ian, and good luck with the rest of the year.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for everyone for listening to today's MTD podcast. Don't forget to join us next week on Monday, where we'll have another episode for you. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on MTDCNC